Hi friends! My solitary life will develop somewhat and soberly assess what is happening. On the one hand, your comments, compliments are different. They're very pleasant. Probably because I see great people reflecting me and I'm calm for myself. Because if we proceed from the concept that the world reflects us, then I can say to myself that I'm great. But on the other hand, it inflates my ego. Who will not be pleased when they are praised? The main thing is not to fall into a state of delight. As usual, everything is good in moderation. The first thing I want to say is to express my deep gratitude for your warmth that you give me. And I am very glad that I have the honor and the opportunity to reflect you. So hugs a lot and get to the point of this video. Because we are not here to praise each other. Just a lot of different questions are sent to the mail on topics: what I eat, what I don't eat, how I sleep, how I don't sleep, how I bath and whether I bath at all, how I paint, questions and so on. And I decided to record a video in order, firstly, to answer all these questions, and secondly, to share as usual some of my modest thoughts on the topic of autonomy. My friends, I think that during the research on this topic, everyone has already understood that autonomy is just the keys to something, to what we'll talk a little later, and that autonomy is not at all about sitting awake without food, without water. It's not about suffering or toxicosis, it's not about matches in the eyes and not about thirst. All these disadvantages of autonomy are just signals that tell us that we are doing something wrong. From our beliefs to the actions we take on the way to something. Because, as you can imagine, autonomy is not a goal. So let's figure out where we are all going. I go here, you go there, someone the other way. In principle, the direction is absolutely unimportant. Direction has no value, value only makes sense. And it seems to me that we all go where we think it will be better. We decided so for ourselves, because if otherwise, then there is no point in going there. Why do we manage to believe it? Everything is very simple. This is because the mind has nothing to cling to. This is a very unexplored topic and the mind is powerless there. It knows nothing there. And it cannot tell us that it's bad. The mind was not there, so it has to accept whatever we give it. And that remains for it is to cling to some previous experience. For example, the mother didn't sleep with the baby. It was hard, there was an anguish, and she had memories and experience. That it's hard not to sleep, it's difficult, it can slow down a person's entry into sleep deprivation. Or someone was without food for a couple of days and he felt bad too. Naturally, there was intoxication and so on. Maybe he drank water because, excuse me, when you sit hungry on the water, and when you sit on dry days, it makes a huge difference. On dry days, it's much easier, especially if you are already trained and prepared. And I know from myself that it's much easier to go on dry days, raw food, mono food, low food, than when you ate everything and then suddenly you go on dry days. Friends, you will never convince me of this because on my own experience, I go through all this, I went through and will go through. So a few days on damp and you go on dry days calmly, especially I think after a year of training, as it happens with me. So everyone who is hindered by previous experience to go in and try sleep deprivation or dry days, don't be afraid and don't worry. When you go into all this with awareness, it's a completely different experience. And again, you then and you now are absolutely two different people. Simply due to the fact that we are constantly undergoing a natural transformation, and accordingly the reactions of the body will also be different as our beliefs change. Over time you live and your beliefs change. They are constantly being transformed. Our body's reactions line up according to our beliefs. We are physically a projection of ourselves in a quantum field, and the field is shaped by our beliefs. Since we each have our own beliefs, then it's formed for everyone in different ways. So the task of autonomy, it seems to me, is to lead to an understanding of this depends, as well as to lead to the disposal and erasure of all programs that were laid down earlier. And only in principle you decide which programs will remain and which will go away. Because when you reach enlightenment, the programs are erased all. You become nothing in nowhere forever, and already from this state you work out the tasks that you set for yourself on your own. Now about the motivation, goals and meanings to go into practice. Just imagine that you are dreaming of absolute health. And now you have gone on dry days, you have been practicing for a month, 2, 3. During all this time, for example, you have never had a headache. You never felt bad, you have no pains in your body. In general, there is no discomfort. And it turns out that you have achieved your goal. You are healthy and the motivation to continue the practice of autonomy is lost. Until the hand reaches for probably an avocado and again in a new way. At this point, it's very important to rethink your goals and set some new tasks for yourself in order not to give up this business and move on. It's time to ask the question, what else do I want to achieve? And what is most relevant for you at a particular moment will become the driving force, motivations for you. Well, there are some goals that will be achieved for a long time, and the time to achieve these goals, it's only in your head. Because for the universe, in principle, it's absolutely indifferent what to materialize. A big elephant or a huge house, or an apple or something else, it doesn't matter. The universe has the resources and energy to give you what you desire. But can you explain it to it? This is the main question. There is a certain time frame that corresponds to the complexity of your desire, your goal. There is one person who wants to grow teeth, and she has been practicing autonomy for a long time. I understand she is so motivated by this idea to grow teeth. It's this motivation that helps her to move and not leave her path. She lives in the autonomy in which she is comfortable. And the person lives and enjoys. It doesn't set itself any definite framework, it doesn't say that autonomy is something concrete. For each autonomy will manifest itself in its own way, we just know certain keys that help us move. So I think that when she reaches her goal, she will set new goals and continue, because she will succeed once already. And I'm sure that the person will succeed, because this is a very strong conviction, this is a very strong desire. Maybe for some simple goals you will need 2 or 3 days, and for something more global, more time. And in order not to give up, You, please, take the trouble to understand why are you doing this. This is the biggest and most magical advice. Because as soon as I understand why I'm doing this, I can easily endure dry days. I wouldn't even say so, let alone endure. I absolutely don't force myself, I just like it. And they are given quite easily and simply. You just need to understand why you're doing this. If you set some global goals, if it's something incomprehensible to your mind, and for a very long time, then you can constantly give up and break down. My advice and observation as a practitioner is to set small goals, achieve them, to gradually train. When you practice, when you set some more interesting big goal, you will be ready because you have done it many times on small goals and you achieve them. So when there is a sense in your actions, the mind ceases to resist and put obstacles. Even mind you, many people write to me, I don't know why. Let's say, last week I went on dry days easily, sat for 5 days, it doesn't matter. But this time I can't even go in for a day. What is the reason? What is that? And I always tell people that maybe there was some goal last week that you probably didn't even track, it just made sense. And this week you just do it because everyone is doing it or because it's necessary. You have no motivation, no understanding why you are doing this. For example, you want to solve a situation at work. Why not a goal? Well, go in until your situation is resolved. Set yourself such a task. I go in for 3 days, or as long as possible. I go until dry, until the issue at work is resolved. Or, for example, you put the question like this. I go to dry rooms to resolve the issue at work. Why not a goal? Why not motivation? And even if everything happened to you the way you wanted, and you, joyful, celebrate this event with a salad or drink some juice or eat something else, well, okay. Friends, the main thing is not to start scolding yourself for it. Not feel guilty or give up on yourself. Ate, rejoiced, rested, and moved on if suddenly it happened. If not, even better. Move on, set new goals, weaker, new tasks, and make sense of the actions you're doing. Because just to practice autonomy, I don't get the point. Yes, the flow, yes, the state, but many don't understand it, right? This is a level where you just really understand that your whole previous life was not life. But until you get to that level, you have to motivate yourself. And do it. Step by step can be done at the beginning of the path. It's very important to go on dry days or into the practice of sleep deprivation with highly vibrations, no matter how it sounds. If you're depressed, if everything is bad for you, you can force in and get out. Of course, this will help. But hours you're in good condition, if you surround yourself with good, beautiful things, pleasant communication, good films, or something else, you watch the movie and recharged. Listen to music. It's much easier to enter practice from this state than to get out of such a state when you want to hug a pot of borscht shut yourself off from everyone, not to see and only eat. It's very difficult to get out of this state. The simplest thing how to go on dry days is to lighten the nutrition as much as possible. Then you will have a layer of strength to want something. At this time, you need to surround yourself with something beautiful. Go to the exhibition, see the paintings. If it's not possible, watch a good movie. It's a motivating film. Go for a run, exercise, do sports. But it's also hard. Better listen to music and watch a movie. This is the most accessible and simple. And then the autonomy for each will be revealed in its own way. And everything will depend on the beliefs that are in your head. Oddly enough, right? For example, I ask myself if I want to be in autonomy forever now. Until I hear from within, the answer is no. Because in my understanding, in my convictions today, there is an understanding of complete autonomy as service. This is the way when you cease to belong to yourself and begin to belong to the whole world. Because you have no desires, you no longer have desires as a person. You become nothing and everyone at the same time. It's like the highest step. I haven't achieved this yet, and to be honest, I'm not really striving for it yet. Maybe later. So I set small goals for now. Sometimes big, sometimes not. And practice autonomy, like I said. And yet, many, of course, have a huge number of questions along the way. But you know, one piece of advice. Try to turn your attention from the outside into yourself. For this, you need to go through a certain path in practice. And what you have achieved, you will understand when you have questions for other people. You will only have questions for yourself. The most interesting thing, asking a question to yourself, you will immediately find an answer to it. In order to come to this understanding, each will probably need their number of clean days. Someone can see the light in 3-5 days, someone will need 20, someone 40, someone a few months. My friends, it's so individual and it all depends on your beliefs and the preparedness of your mind, the flexibility of your mind. How ready it is for some miracles, for new information and in general something new. I was asked about different superpowers. Only the framework of our mind limits our superpowers and in general any abilities. I would say that if you don't know how to manage your emotions, then these emotions will give out things of reactions to miracles. And miracles hide behind. I'll explain it to you with a very simple example. You, for example, can go down the street and find money. If you have such a conviction that money doesn't lie on the street and you don't find it every day, and this is a great rarity, then when you see the money on the ground, where it should not be, you have anxiety, you react with excitement to this event. I tell from personal experience, so if it's not so with you, if you see the money completely calmly and raise it, then such an example is not suitable for you. Maybe some other things throws you out of balance. It used to be surprising and strange for me to find money on the street. So in order for such an event as money lying on the floor or on the ground to enter my life completely calmly, I did such a thing. When I went for a walk with the dog, there were different denominations of money, and went ahead threw money, then came back and walked with the dog. Arranged such a performance and found money as if. And every time this game became easier for me. I got used to the sight of money on earth and it became completely normal for me. In this way, I removed my beliefs that finding money is incredible. I really very rarely found money on the street. 2 or 3 rubles doesn't count. A trifle is easy for me, but some large sums are more difficult. So through such a performance, I showed myself that finding money on the street is a common thing. And the moment came, my husband and I walk along the embankment in the city. I wanted to ride electric scooters in the park. But the whole point was that in this park, electric scooters are only for cash. And we are modern people and we had little cash, almost none. I don't remember. The money was on the card. And here we go, I'm talking about my desire. I say that we will have to look for an ATM. In general, where we walked nearby, there was no ATM. And at that moment, when I said about the desire to write, but I need cash. And at this moment, my gaze falls down, and I see how the wind neatly carries 2,000 bills to my feet. I thank the world for their care, and we went for a drive. Story about what? How did I find the money? No, friends. This is a story about how I worked through a performance and changed my beliefs. And this situation was not long in coming. If you go out on the street now with such an intention to find money, excess potential and importance will take their toll and you're unlikely to succeed, so everything is not so simple. And in order to catch the state in which all this happens and all this is simple, we were given autonomy. And with the help of these autonomy keys, you can enter these states with complete peace of mind. I cannot tell or describe them to you. You will be able to catch and feel them. Because telling about these states is the same as telling a blind person that the grass is green. So unfortunately, the checklist in this video will not be with detailed instructions on what to do with this. So it doesn't matter what I eat, how I sleep, what I wash. Important, my friends, only what you do for yourself. That's exactly what you do. Listen to yourself. Don't be fooled. Conduct a dialogue with yourself. And eventually the moment will come when you will hear all the answers to your questions. No matter how much I tell you that there are states in which you can do things until you feel it, it's impossible to understand the state with the mind. It's impossible to artificially cause it. You just need to come to it. And which way you will go, through which keys of autonomy you will reach this is already your way. And one more thing, today I was able to record this video and I didn't cut the account in the whole area. It's just that several times during this month that I wasn't there, I tried to raise some topics and sat down to record a video. I wanted to share information that comes to me. But I turned off the lights in the whole area and it happened several times. I fell silent because perhaps there is information, as I told in one video, that there is information that I cannot speak, that I cannot share. Well, that's why new videos didn't come out from me. For technical reasons in the universe. And yet, my friends, don't try to assess the level of each other, because you must understand that what gets to YouTube, what gets anywhere is very little. Because everything else is in each of you. You know the answers to all the questions. And in order not to disturb unprepared minds, they turned off the light for me. So those were technical chocolates. My friends, I love you endlessly and unconditionally. Hugs and see you soon. Bye bye.